Hey, are you a real estate agent? Are you feeling the change that has accompanied rising mortgage rates, inflation, building inventory, and signs of recession? Well, this Town Talk is for you as we go through 6 actions that you can start today to not just survive in a changing market, but thrive. Are you ready? Let's go. Good morning, y'all.
How we doing, gang?
What's up? What's up?
What's up? Hey, today we have got actually a great topic, something that we're dealing with here in our industry. And today we're talking about 6 tips to thrive in a shifting market. We've actually got a special guest today. It is a new family member to our John L. Scott Talent Group. She is a rock star in the real estate industry, one of our newest brokers, and I just wanted to introduce Molly Gregory.
Hello. So happy to be here.
How you doing, Molly? Glad you could join us.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
This is awesome. So today we're talking about 6 tips to thrive in a shifting market. So we're going to be giving you a little bit of insight from some of our top producers here right up on screen on things that you can do if you're a real estate broker to really thrive, not just survive, but thrive in this real estate market. So let's go ahead and kick it off because we've got a few things that we want to make sure that we cover.
And Steve, who else is with Molly today?
We have our team here. John, are you guys pointing at me?
Well, you're Steve.
I'm Steve. It's your boy Steve. We have got Davina Clardy, and we have Jerrigan Robinson.
He felt left out.
Oh man, you guys are awesome. I love you guys.
We love
All right.
you. We do. So this is really good. This is great conversation because one of the things that we get asked a lot is, how's the market? And are we going into a recession, or is the bubble gonna pop? And when is the bubble gonna pop? And now we've been hearing about, the market shift, and our market looks a lot different today than it did a few months ago, right? And last year. So, what does that mean for our buyers and our sellers, and what opportunities are there, and for our real estate professionals? Like, I am a survivor, or I can say I ended up a thriver through the bubble, like the real bubble. We made it. I think, Steve, you were in the business back when there was a real bubble, and there are ways that you can actually thrive and survive through that time.
Steve was in real estate before there were computers.
That's crazy.
Actually, you might have been, Steve, were you in before they actually did the, electronic keys and all that stuff?
Well, I came in right when they switched over to, a little bit after they switched over to electronic keys. I came in right as the phone books were going out, and you had to go drive to an office to pick up a key, or you had to have a master key to put in the Supra box. You had to buy a master key to put in the Supra box. Never mind.
I'm so glad we are past those. Thank the Lord for technology.
I would have lost the key my first day.
That's a whole nother show talking about losing keys.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Actually, I think we have a trivia question that we are going to start off with, and I think it's I don't even know what the question is, actually.
Trivia question. How many housing units are there in the United States? How many housing units? We've got a few answers, multiple choice. Drop your answer in the comment section if you're tuned in. Is it 75 million, 120 million, 175 million, or 53 million?
Okay.
Drop your answer in the comment section. if you win, if you get the correct answer, you get a data boy. So
Okay. And I'm going to be in the corner and I'm going to start from 1 and I'm going to count up until I stop at the right answer. So during the whole conversation, I'm going to start 1, 2, 3, 4. Just listen to me.
I'd be really impressed, Jurgen.
You know how long it'd take to count into the millions?
Do you? I don't know. Do you know?
Trivia question. There you go.
Yeah. It's like months or years. I mean, it'd take forever.
Yeah. Like how many people are on Earth?
Everybody raise your hand.
I'm still trying to figure out how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop. So,
well,
I
it's
don't
3.
think anybody knows.
3.
Yeah.
I'm with Jurgen at 3.
Yeah. I've seen the commercial. 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've got some answers already popping in. So continue bringing your answers, and we'll get that correct answer at the top of the show. But let's jump into maybe some of these.
You reminded me. We have some comments, don't we? I almost forgot my role. Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday from Pat and Donna with the sunshine saying good morning. Kathy Joe with a good morning and a happy 4th of July weekend. Donna is already saying B. Jeff has got C, and Chuck is 175 million.
All right.
How many households are there in the United States? All right. So we are going to start with just some conversation about a few tips, and we have 6 tips to thrive in a shifting market. And one of the things that that and then this is really for real estate professionals. When we're talking about how things are changing, and the first is knowing we're in the business, right? And so business, you got to know the business. We've got to know who our clients are. And one of the first tips is actually knowing the numbers, right? Knowing our numbers is really important. And there's so many different ways that we can do that. But, our numbers actually start with our relationships, right? Yeah. So that's actually number 1 is actually knowing our numbers, and that comes into kind of like the market, our market research, and so there's a ton of tips. And you guys want to talk about how we can be better at knowing what's going on in our marketplace and sharing that information.
Yeah. And Davina, when you were talking about know your numbers, I mean, that does. It's not only just the number of people that are in your database or in your sphere of influence, the people that you have an opportunity to influence, but it is that knowing the actual market numbers, because that's what people need to know. And also, it's really hard to operate a business by feel. You really need to know what's happening so you can talk. You can speak the language that people need to know. So a lot of people have questions, and we need to be able to help guide them. And the other part is, watching expenses. Actually watching the numbers, making sure that during a time where we're maybe settling in a little bit differently than we had been, understanding where we're putting any of our dollars or monies and being good stewards of that so we can make good impacts.
Yeah.
And I think too, just because things are changing so quickly, it's like every morning making sure that's, you're keeping up on those numbers, because with interest rates and, getting even pre-approvals for buyers, making sure that we're checking in with those lenders and making sure that those pre-approvals are still on point and accurate for, what that day may bring, because things are changing literally daily, and just making sure you have, that agent is an advocate to make sure that you're getting those reminders to look at those things and be thinking about those things daily. Like buying a house or selling a house isn't stressful enough, right? Now we're looking at it every single day. But I think it's crucial just on both the buying and selling side and for the agent to make sure that, we're doing those daily check-ins.
Right on.
Yeah. This goes through, we're talking real estate specifically, but in any industry that you're in, it's really important to actually know your craft, and actually, if you are a consumer, know your numbers. Like it's really important to budget, right? Like you need to plan. In this market, and we were looking at, very, very market frenzy, hyper frenzy, sellers market. You need to have a bunch of cash, and you need to have this and that, and we need to tweak this and that. And, those things start changing. So actually consulting with your real estate professional and making sure that you know how to be prepared, talking to your lenders, like you mentioned, Molly, to make sure that you are prepared, because as things shift, we talk about change and then it happens and then no one believes it until they walk through that door. So definitely preparing and knowing those numbers up front is really going to help you thrive and help the expectations and help you power through in this marketplace.
Yeah. So, yeah, number one is knowing your numbers. And that is kind of almost like an education part, really an analysis of what's going on. And then number two, then we have something that is kind of on the wellness side, on the mental side of things, and that is take your meds. Steve, what is take your meds about?
Take your meds. This is something that everyone needs to be doing and think about every day. But meds is an acronym. M is for mindset, meditation.
Write
E,
this down, you guys. Write this down. Write it down. Write it. Get a
write this
pen.
down.
Write it down.
Write it down. Because we talk about mindset, and before you do anything, you need to make sure that you have that right mindset to be able to do what you do, to go in your day, tackle your day. This goes into affirmations. But M is for the meds, E is for exercise, D is for diet, and S is for sleep. You want to make sure that you're taking care of your mind, your body, to be able to do what we're doing here in this business. So,
Yeah, that's big and huge for being able to. So we talked about exercise, and if you're just tuning in, what we're doing is we're going over 6 tips to not just survive a changing market, but to actually thrive in a changing market. And our first one was know your numbers, and that's working on the education part. 2 was take your meds, which is mindset, exercise, diet, sleep, kind of that wellness portion of it. And next we have coaching and mentoring. And, Molly, do you want to tackle a little bit on coaching and mentoring?
I think it's huge. And I don't think that you can ever stop learning. And making sure that you're always staying, kind of going back to those numbers, just staying on top of things. It's super easy to get comfortable in an environment and in an atmosphere, and making sure that you're just reaching out to those coaches and those mentors and making sure that you're asking those questions and saying, okay, what do I or we need to do to make sure we're continuing to progress and succeed. And like I said, it is so easy to just get comfortable and say, you know what, well, things are going fine. I'm going to stay where I'm at. But then you're not shifting, as the market shifts, we need to shift as individuals and as agents, and making sure that we're staying on top of those shifts and we're changing with it and evolving with what's happening around us. I think it's really the only way that we can stay on top of it. So just feeling comfortable reaching out to people, feeling comfortable, asking questions. You have things that you're unsure about, or you don't really know what to do next. It's like just reaching out to those people that, may have been in it longer, or may, have different experiences that you haven't necessarily gone through, and just making sure that, you're reaching out to the people, because there's so many of us. And I think we can really, rather than competing against one another, we can just really use each other as resources, within John L. Scott and, in other brokerages as well. So
Great job, Molly. We're just going to turn the show over to you, okay?
All right.
So we're going to go take a break. And
right. Okay.
Yeah. Molly will be coaching and mentoring, by the way,
yeah.
Yeah.
And Davina, you've also been in coaching and mentoring. I mean, what's that meant to you, especially when you, in light of a shifting market, like being able to get back into where sometimes it's felt like the market has moved itself, and agents are almost caught in a current rather than guiding a boat or a ship along. What is that coaching and mentoring to you when you think about a shift in the market?
Well, I think it actually goes back to part of it is mindset. We need help getting out of our own heads. There was a season where if you're not feeding yourself and you're not having conversations with someone else who's maybe better than you are, or maybe has a better insight than you have, then we can really sell ourselves short. And so for me, I think that coaching and mentoring has actually helped get back to the basics, which is just hey, who are you? What is your why? Like, why are you even doing this? Right? Because we tend to get on that train and we're going, right? We're going for the next thing. We're having conversations with people. Things are good. Oh my gosh, here's the market. I mean, like, there's so many things that come at us. And then we kind of forget our why, so when things start to change, we end up reacting. But if we are clear on who we are and why we're doing what we're doing, we can be completely clear on what our role is in the marketplace, no matter what that looks like. So that's what coaching and mentoring has really, can really help with, just digging into the why, which is really important.
And one last part is just we're not, as people, we're not always good at being self-accountable. And by having that mentor or that partner or a coach, that's what coaching has really done for me, and for, I know, with us along the way, is just having that outside accountability, so that we're not just doing it for ourselves, because we're the masters of giving ourselves excuses and reasons that we cannot do something, where somebody else can hold us to a higher level and actually help us make the steps we know in our heart we want to take. So we're talking about the 6 ways to thrive in a shifting market. Number 1 was know your numbers and mindset. Number 2 was take your meds and some wellness. Number 3 was coaching, which is that accountability inside of there. And number 4, communicate, educate, listen. Steve, you are the Thurston County Realtor Association Chair of Education. So when we talk about communicate, educate, listen, what does this mean to you? Such an esteemed individual.
I'll take that. No, I think if anyone wants to just be better, part of that has to go with feeding your mind, educating yourself, becoming really good at what you do, until you master it. So a lot of that has to do with, like, educating yourself, learning how to educate others, especially in our business, which even goes into, like, mastering some of the basics of the business. We were just talking about coaching for a second, but even the greatest people have coaches that help them master and educate just those basic concepts. And it's not that they're good at it, they're great at it. Just some of those basics. But a lot of that comes down to just learning, practicing, role playing, doing some of those things those bold moves, things that take us outside of our comfort zone for sometimes.
Yeah. And what has it really meant for you, as far as that little education piece? Because not only as someone who teaches classes, puts them together, helps run workshops, etc., not only are people learning from you, but you have to, before you ever try to teach somebody else, you have to do something too, right? You have to learn. You have to enrich yourself first to pass things along. So what is that learning to you as you are doing things even within the brokerage? Because we have to focus in on our classes and such, right?
We do, absolutely. I even right now, I've been doing real estate for a little while now, since '93. But I am still learning. I don't proclaim to know everything, but I'm always looking into things, trying to grow, always working on my mindset, just trying to be better at what I do. And that is learning myself, new technology, new ways of doing stuff, being open to it, being coachable myself.
Yeah.
So,
And you are leading classes on forums every Friday within the brokerage. Actually, as a matter of fact, after we end this talent talk, you are going to be leading a forums class on all the Washington State or the Northwest MLS forums. You're helping to implement role plays, because we're getting back to so many of the basics. We've got classes on all aspects of the real estate process and how to be successful as an agent. And it's a lot, but you help put those together in bite-sized chunks. And not only for us, but even for the Thurston County Realtor Association. So that's huge. And then Molly, when you just came across as well, you're kind of remarking a little bit on what the education that what it's meaning to you or what you've seen with or without, because you haven't always had that support either, right?
Correct. Yeah. And so just having a place where, you feel comfortable asking those questions. And like I said, just going back to never stop evolving. I mean, things, just even looking at technology, how quickly new things are coming out. And, if we're not willing to learn, and again, people get stuck in their ways, people get comfortable. It's work on top of what you're already trying to accomplish. But I don't think we're, giving ourselves all that we have and giving our clients and our peers all that we have if we're not being willing to continue that learning process and asking those questions. And I think just having a safe environment where you feel comfortable going to, whether it be mentors or other peers, and just having those conversations and chats and, just sharing experiences. Because I think really the best way to learn is from each other and just, chatting and talking and sharing what we're learning together so that we can really bring it into one and use each other's mistakes and, and really learn from them. So
That's great.
That is great.
And really good insight in there. And then, overall, we do a lot of classes in ours, and we always try to be of service to people. So, if you're out there and you don't have some support, whether it be forums or role play or some other things, and you're not with our firm, but you want to maybe improve what you're doing, message us. We would be happy to help you. And we really want to just lean into service, especially when we talk about a shifting market, which brings us back to it is 6 ways to thrive in a shifting real estate market as a realtor. And we've gone over know your numbers is number 1. Number 2, take your meds and wellness. Number 3, coaching, mentoring. And number 4 is education, communication, and listening. And Davina, number 5,
Yeah.
you resonate this so much, which is focus on service.
Yeah. Well, I was like giddy, like when thinking about number 5. And Molly, you mentioned about, service. Jurgen, you just mentioned about service. And oh my gosh, like,
Wait, just before you do that, Molly, you're getting a big kudos from
yes,
that's
nice
my
job.
man. She's my biggest fan.
Yay.
Awesome.
I told her to tune in.
My thing, we were talking yesterday, and I'm like, good golly, Miss Molly, like.
Yep. That's what my grandparents say every time I walk in the door.
I think that's a new one. Good golly, Miss Molly. So, when we're talking about service, I think about, the quote, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And that's a quote from Maya Angelou. And I just love that because our goal, imagine how we can impact people if we just provide excellent service. How do you want to be treated? Like everyone should be treated like they are the most important person on this earth, right? And we deserve to, to feel the love and all those things. And we should be doing that for our clients. Just imagine when you go into, whatever store or restaurant and the impact that you have with that server or from the front door, the service is so important. And we need to really have a mind of service. This is not just, okay, go and make money. This is about how can I serve you? Do we ever ask that question to our clients? Like, how can I serve you? Like, we are servants in our space. And so relationships are really important, and we should be going way deeper than deep. We should be doing deep dives. We're get our snorkels off, take off the snorkels, and let's put on our scuba gear and let's go deep, guys. Right. So that just really resonates with me because no matter where the market is, you got your people, you got your tribe, right? And the communication and the relationship lasts around, throughout the times. And you're going to be their trusted advisor. You're going to be their friend. You're going to be their go-to, and we'll be able to lean on each other. It's a two-way street. It's not just a give, take. It's a relationship. So that's huge. Going deep.
And Davian, you epitomize that. I mean, your business is all about the relationship, and have been able to see it, and it's absolutely amazing. Steve, on your side, one of the ways I see that with you is not always necessarily on the transactional side, because that's not where you focus your time and attention, but really see that in the brokerage side, like the relationships you not only have with our own brokers and agents, but the relationships that you've developed in the broker community as a whole within Thurston County and the surrounding areas. What does that mean to you about that focus on service and the relationships?
I mean, service is huge. I mean, when we talk about that, it's probably like one of the big cornerstones of building a business, and it shows even with Davina. When I'm thinking about this, is just people. If you make a person feel good and they get that warm fuzzy feeling, they want to give back to you and help you out and give back, and they're there for you. It's really all about relationships, and it all starts with giving good service. And it's like a foundational piece to building a business. Even in our industry, I don't focus more on the sales side, but I've built these relationships, and I'm of service to a lot of the brokers who come through the office. In those relationships, they help sustain the office and build it. I mean, it's part of it's part of just who I am and helping build a business.
Absolutely. And Steve, I can say it from getting feedback and comments, concerning you, that, you really do have that example of what Davian was talking about the way you make people feel, that people walk away with a really good feeling from you. So, I mean, you definitely find ways of living into that. And Molly, on this one, because, that focus on service really is so important. Like, we're just getting to know you a little bit more, but how does that speak to you, that focus on service, the relationships?
Yeah. So I think, kind of like Dave Venus said, just going back to your why. So we're kind of tying in all of these different, things that we can do, but they're all really coming together to make one, way of life, really. And so I think really diving deep, why did you get into real estate? Why, because it is about serving people. Why did you want to, serve people in the first place? And originally, before getting into real estate, we discussed a little bit about me wanting to be a nurse. Like that was my passion. I went to school. Like that's what I wanted. And I think just putting yourself in other people's shoes, all of these different professions kind of interlock and intertwine, and really understanding what other people are going through. I mean, real estate's stressful. You're dealing with a huge transaction. You're dealing with a lot of money. A lot of people don't handle stress well, and there's a lot of behind the scenes meltdowns and breakdowns from clients. And if you need to really care about people, and you need to really be passionate and care what you're doing in order to help those clients work through that, and really know how, what, and when to say certain things to let them know, hey, I'm your teammate. We're in this together. We're going to make it to the finish line together, and this is what we need to do to get there. Let's just take a deep breath, figure out what we need to do to get to that finish line, and we're going to get there together. It's not like hey, well, you're the one buying it, so, go for it. Really letting them know we're a partnership, we're a team. Let's work through this and figure out what we need to do. So I think going back to that why and saying, hey, we are in this to serve people. We want to be changing lives. I think even on my Instagram bio, it's changing lives home by home, because really, this purchase is huge. Some people have been working at it for years and years. I love those first time home buyers because there's just that different level of excitement, and just tapping into that passion and really just saying, okay, we're here to help people. Let's give back to the community, but in a more fun, let's go tour houses and have coffee kind of way, right?
Yeah. I'm really happy that you approached it from that angle because everybody had a little bit of a different perspective on that.
Yeah.
And that focus on service is one that is great to go deep on.
Yep.
But the whole reason why our manager, Pat, had first got in touch with you is because one of our agents that had a cross sale with you, Scott, he raved about you. This is
So
somebody you
nice.
have to go and talk to. So
Yeah.
that doesn't only exude the service that you are giving to your clients, it really shows who you are as an agent because it's showing it's an aura about you, not just a
Thank you.
single laser point. So awesome.
Well, and that goes really quickly. I think letting our clients know we're a team, but also letting the agent on the other side within a transaction know that we're a team. There's, obviously there's kind people and then there's not so kind people. And I'm not saying I'm always like that, go-to awesome human because things happen, but it's like just letting, within an entire transaction, being that team, being kind, and really just being able to support each other. Because again, we're not making it to the finish line without the other agent, without that other client on that other side, and really just being able to work together. And I think, we all just need to, again, use each other's resources, use each other's knowledge, and just be willing to help each other out, even if we're not necessarily, on the same bench. So
Absolutely. That's great. I mean, because we finished the race together.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we are almost out of time here. We've just got a couple minutes left. But before we do, one more. Do we have one more?
Yes, that's why I was gonna give a quick wrap up here. On wrapping up the focus on service really is a quote I love from Zig Ziglar, somebody I absolutely adore. Is you can have anything you want in life if you help enough people get what they want, which to me it's all about serving other people. So we have to go out and find people. So this is the 6 tips to thrive in a shifting market. Number 1 was know your numbers. Number 2 was take your meds. Number 3 was coaching and mentoring. Number 4 was communicate, educate. Number 5 we went deep on, which is focus on service. But all of this doesn't mean a lot if we don't do something consistently. So number 6 is set your routine. So when you get all of this together, you start putting together a plan. We have to find a way to actually set the routines, get it in the calendar, and be consistent in what we're doing. And before we go, you know what, Molly, there's another great fan of yours. Says you guys are amazing, but I think you guys is Molly.
Right? She's a little biased, but that's okay.
Katie is the other half of Molly.
Yep.
So we love the love
Olsen team.
Yay.
Or I said Olsen, it's Gregory. That was me going back to high school.
That was way back. That goes back to Nana, who commented earlier.
That's so funny. Okay, so wrapping it up, we've got our 6th tip, which is set your routines. And Dave, why don't you tackle on this? It's a bit here, but set your routines. It doesn't have to be giant, but I mean it's so foundationally important.
Yeah, one of the things we had Emmanuel Fonte talking to our group, and he's big on he is really chamber music. Like he's a musician, and he always says practice makes what? And practice makes, and it's not perfect, it's permanent, right? Permanent. Practice makes permanent. And that's a really good thing to remember, because as we're setting routines, we're practicing. I don't know how many days it takes. I think, as they say, 20 or 30 days to make a habit, good or bad. And so setting our habits, whether that's, times that we're getting up in the morning, times that we're, having that quiet time, looking at our calendars and being intentional. There's so many things that, practice makes permanent. What are you practicing? And does your life of practice, is that who you want to be? Because that is going to be what your care. There's a sign that we have in our training room in here, and it talks about, that what you're practicing actually becomes your character. That's like huge. So, again, being intentional about that, and what, if it's not for me, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. What's showing up on my calendar, is it aligned with my goals? And I have to put those goal focus, those glasses on, and sometimes I need to wear those rose colored glasses, and I need to put the blinders on too, right? Because that is what intentionality is. So for me, that's huge.
The intention. And then Steve, from that teaching perspective, I've seen your calendar when you have everything up. It looks like a Crayola box. It has colors all over the place for all these different activities. So one aspect also that set your routines, just real quickly, what is it about time blocking that you'd want to say?
Just you have to be intentional to make time for everything that needs to be done. I mean, we got busy schedules, so making time for family, for training, for learning, for this, for that, the wife, everything. But try to make it consistent. When I look at this, it's talk about setting routines, and that's part of being able to thrive, especially when the market's shifting and you sometimes feel out of whack and out of place. But creating consistency within your daily routine by blocking certain times for certain days and keeping it consistent keeps everything in order and not so chaotic.
Yeah. And that's great because the time block is a part of it. And then just kind of wrapping it, there's a lot more to routines, et cetera. But Molly, just tossing one your way that you've been involved in the home building process with your family. You were a newer agent not that long ago. With a newer agent, there's so much that gets on your plate, and you have to figure out and sort through priorities. So, what does prioritizing mean to you? Because a part of routines is you have to know what's important to do. What are
Yeah.
priorities to you?
I think it goes back to being intentional. So waking up in the morning and saying, okay, X, Y, and Z are my goals. How do I need to prioritize my tasks throughout the day to accomplish those specific goals? So I think making, that checklist and saying, okay, 1, 2, 3 are my goals. So what do I need to do throughout the day so that when I go home tonight, I can say, okay, that was successful. I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. And that can be a lot of different things, whether it's, taking that time to breathe and kind of disengage from the craziness of the world, and taking that time for your mental well-being and saying, okay, I need to just take a minute for myself right now. Or if it's going to lunch with a coworker, or showing 10 houses because that tomorrow you may have a even heavier plate to and workload to handle. So it can mean a lot of different things, but just making sure that you're saying, okay, what is it that I want to accomplish? And then prioritizing those specific tasks to get you there at the end of the day. And there's not enough time in the day. I mean,
No.
I was working until 11 o'clock last night, and I still had so much to do. And it was like, okay, what is the most important right now, and what can wait until tomorrow? But I think that's another thing, just making sure you're being available, making sure that, you're not letting people on the outside see how overwhelmed you actually may be, and keeping that calm demeanor. And like I said, just making that list, prioritizing, checking things off as you go, and just make sure that you're staying on top of things. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys all wrapped it in together about being intentional, about the time block, about being able to set the priorities. And ultimately, as we get better and better at that, we actually have an opportunity to have a good life. It's not just a stressful life, but
Yeah.
we get to actually serve a lot of people, and we actually get to enjoy a lot. Just a quote to end on there is, people don't typically rise to the level of their goals or their aspirations, but what happens is they fall to the level of their systems. So that's what that means to me, is just the routines are your systems, and it's the bedrock that you'll end up building your success on. So that is 6 tips that we just went through on how to not only survive, but thrive in a shifting market. And Davina, you have something to kind of help wrap us up. Actually, before we do, Katie had said, actually, it's all of us. So thank you, Katie. It is all of us, not just Molly. And then Pat said, love this crew.
Yeah. Well, before we go, we know that this is a holiday weekend, and we want to make sure that we wish everyone a safe and happy 4th of July.
Yes.
fireworks. It's going to be a beautiful weekend this weekend, right? So I think this is the official start of summer in Washington, right? Someone flips the switch on 4th of July.
Still a little misty outside, so I'm waiting for the sun, but
I know, right? So we're still sweater weather, but
yeah,
yeah. So yeah, we just Molly. Good golly, girl. We are just loving having you with us.
Thank
And
you.
this has been really fun and informative, and just thank you. Just
Yeah,
thank you.
no, thank you. It was great to be here, and hopefully we can do another one soon.
Yeah. We still have our trivia answer though.
That's right. Before we go,
We still do have trivia. So before we head out, how many households are there in the United States? And we had some answers in the chat.
Yep. We had 75 as A, 120 as B, 175. All these with millions. SC, 53 at D, and then we had Donna had answered B, which was 120. Jeff had been at C, which was 175, and then Chuck just spelled it right on out, 175.
All right. What is the answer? How many households?
B, 120
Wow.
million.
Nice.
Wow.
Donna. Yes, Donna, you are a winner. What do you win today? A round of applause. Yay! And Kathy Joe had also said the switch gets flipped on the 5th.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We have till Halloween, and that's when the switch flips again. So enjoy the summer.
Enjoy.
So, all right.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We've got a Be Bold, and we kind of want to end it a little bit differently. So we broadcast on a lot of different platforms. We go from Facebook on live. We do Instagram. We also do LinkedIn. We also do YouTube. But also this lives on YouTube after the fact. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you should be able to see another video over here. Or we'll just go right to a quick... But really, what we want to all say is thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Should we just say goodbye?
Yes, and follow us. Bye.
Like, follow, share, subscribe, all them buttons, hit them.